Do you struggle starting homework? Do you have trouble getting important studying done? Or maybe you feel too unmotivated and tired to do anything productive. If so, you need to follow the START acronym. 5 easy steps that will fix your procrastination habit, which I want to remind you before getting into the acronym is completely normal and natural. Our goal isn't to never procrastinate. That's not really possible, but instead it's to procrastinate productively. The 5 tips in this video will help you do exactly that. It's going to give you a step-by-step process that you need to start tackling your to-do list without waiting for motivation to magically appear. But before I dive into these tips, there's something that you need to understand. Procrastination isn't an identity. Just like overthinking, it's a habit, and a habit that you can break. If you've been telling yourself over and over, like I have for my entire life, that I'm just a procrastinator, I want you to stop doing that right now. You're not a procrastinator, you just have a bad habit of procrastinating. And once we can shift that mindset from this is who I am, this is just my identity, to this is just something that I've got to overcome, all of the tips that I'm about to share will start to make a huge difference. So let's go ahead and dive in. Here is how you start overcoming procrastination. You see what I did there with the START, start? Anyways, let's dive in. S. Simplify the task. One of the biggest reasons that we procrastinate is because tasks that we have seem crazy overwhelming to us. So the first step is to simplify it. Break down whatever it is that you're avoiding into smaller, more manageable pieces. You don't need to finish the whole thing right now. You don't need to finish all of your math problems. I mean, maybe you do by the end of tonight, but not like right now, right? Just focus on the next tiny step. And when a task feels smaller, it feels a whole lot more doable. And that's when we can start building momentum. Momentum is the key when we're trying to kick our procrastination habit to the curb. The T stands for time yourself. The Pomodoro technique is something that I learned when I was in college, and it completely changed my productivity. I have ADHD, which you might be able to tell in a lot of these videos. And so it's really hard for me to actually sit down and accomplish a full project or a full essay at one moment. So what changed everything for me is setting a timer for 25 minutes to work on just that one task that you've already set. And when the timer goes off, take a 5-minute break. Again, it's a whole lot easier to commit to 25 minutes than it is to commit to hours of work, or 12 pages of an essay, or 3 study guides for your finals. Plus, knowing that you only have to work for a short burst makes it less intimidating. And once you take that first step and just get going, you're gonna find that it's a whole lot easier to keep working. A is avoid distractions. Now, this might be something that you're struggling with right now. This YouTube video, or just YouTube in general, might be your distraction that you're using to procrastinate the stuff that you need to do. Distractions are everywhere, especially when you're trying to get something done. So here's a quick tip. Change your environment. Whether that's moving to a different room, whether it's turning off your phone, or whether it's using apps to block social media, try creating a space where you can focus. And even the smallest shift or change in your environment can trigger your brain to focus much better. The R is by far the most important for me, and that stands for regulate dopamine. Your brain, like mine, and like every human being's brain, craves dopamine. And when you procrastinate, it's usually because your brain is looking for these quick fixes, these quick rewards, like scrolling through social media, or again, watching this YouTube video. And one way that you can combat this is trying to regulate those dopamine levels. Now, you might be asking to yourself, well, Will, I don't even know what dopamine is, and how can I go about regulating my dopamine levels? I'm not gonna go into the science of this, but the best way that I like to describe it is your dopamine is your feel-good chemical in your brain. So it's what's boosted when you watch a Mr. Beast video, when you play a video game, or when you scroll on social media. Their whole goal is to boost your dopamine as much as possible. And the way that it works is that, you see a huge boost in your feel-good chemical, but it crashes shortly after. And so if you have any trouble focusing and being motivated and, let's say, doing your homework after, let's say, a couple of hours of scrolling, that's exactly why. You're trying to do your focus after your dopamine levels have crashed. So the biggest tip that I can give you that, again, has changed my life, especially as somebody with ADHD, is time your dopamine strategically. So a really good way to do this is after school, don't indulge in short-term fixes. Don't scroll for 30 minutes. Don't play video games, right? Do your best to have a good snack and get right back into your schoolwork. Get into your homework and then use the dopamine activities, video games, scrolling, whatever it is that you like to entertain yourself with, use that as rewards to doing your deep work. So by doing this, it's really a win-win. You get your work done when you feel more motivated, confident, and focused, and less bleh. And at the same time, you get to enjoy your video games and scrolling without this like crippling pressure that you still got to do your homework. And last but not least, the T stands for take the first step. This is by far the most important part. Just take the first step. Don't overthink it. Y'all, action cures fear and action cures hesitation. You see, a lot of people feel like they have to wait until they're motivated enough to take action, when in reality, what successful people, productive people, literally fill in the blank, what they realize is that action is the thing that leads to motivation, even if it's just a baby step, right? Once you start, you're gonna find it a whole lot easier to keep going. I ran track and cross country in college, and thinking about going for a 15-mile run really sucked. And so if I was thinking about that nonstop, I probably wouldn't go for a run. I procrastinated and I missed a lot of days. But instead, just thinking about, okay, I'm gonna go to my closet, I'm gonna pick out the outfit, I'm gonna put my first shoe on, taking it step by step builds momentum, and that is how you overcome procrastination. So real quick, let's recap the START method. First, simplify the task so that it feels a whole lot less overwhelming. T, time yourself using the Pomodoro technique to stay focused. You can start with 10 minutes, and then take a 2-minute break. You can start with an hour and take a 10-minute break. Whatever you feel like you're able to do, start there and don't be afraid to build up that focus muscle, for lack of better terms. A, avoid distractions by changing your environment. R, regulate your dopamine and time your dopamine in a really positive way. Get your work done and use what you typically use to escape as your reward. Let me say that again. Use what you typically use as an escape as a reward. Lastly, take the first step. Even if it's the smallest, tiniest, bite-sized piece of whatever it is you're doing, action is what cures fear, fuels momentum, and fuels motivation. I hope you found this video helpful. Don't procrastinate on hitting that subscribe button. And again, if you are procrastinating your schoolwork by watching this video, thank you for doing that. But yeah, probably should get back to work.